Okay, so neither of us had done anything like this before, so it was a real learning experience to finally be exploring the museum side of things. We had access to the museum storerooms, which we're in just now, and we had access to the museum's online database. In the storerooms we were able to just go around and see what caught our eye related to neurology, and on the online database it had a bit more information on each of the objects. Some had more information than the others, so we had to go and do more independent research, and we were also able to narrow down our search. Like if we wanted to search a keyword like brain, it would come up things related to that, so it was pretty cool exploring the research on the amount of effort that goes into creating a museum display.
For me, I felt like it sort of took me back in time and allowed me to experience what they must have felt like. To them, it probably wasn't as like awe-inspiring, but to me, it was like, oh wow, really cool, and to see how different some of the tools that I was able to touch and have a look at have advanced to where we are now, and some of them have been made in a much simplified manner as well, so it's much easier to use. I would say some skills that I was able to use more was working in an interdisciplinary team that wasn't purely healthcare based, because sometimes I think we used to work in solely in teams that is based in healthcare and not teams like involved in art or in public health or in museum in history, for example. So that was really interesting, and it meant that the approach we used had to be different, and we had to tailor that to the audience that we were hoping to educate with our displays. And also, I suppose another thing is probably communicating things from how I understood it to non-medical people as well, in a way that they're able to find it really interesting as well. So that was interesting, and that was a good skill to sharpen and to keep working on. To know what Amy, what you think?
I think we really developed our skill of reflection, which we'll definitely need in future practice. In future we'll be using it on a daily basis, and for this project at the start of each week we would delegate the tasks between us according to our strengths and weaknesses, and at the end of the week we would reconvene, see what went well, see what didn't go so well, and use reflecting that to see what our plan of attack would be for the next week. And also it was just useful to reflect on the past in general. We looked more at the health determinants, stigmas, and even the progression in medical equipment. So it's good to reflect on that so that we can realise the impact we can make in the future and small changes we can make now. Yeah, it was quite refreshing just exploring a non-clinical background. Usually we'd be on wards or we'd be doing something clinical, and after a time it can get quite repetitive, so it was nice to explore that aspect where you learn more about the history behind medicine, and even in lectures we've never really been taught about the notable figures like the neurosurgeons in Dundee. So it was nice to pay our respects to them and all their efforts into neurological development.
And I thought as well, it's interesting in terms of learning, putting ethics into its practicalities. We learned a lot about some techniques that we used back in the days that will not get ethical approval now. We would consider it pretty barbaric. So that was good. We can learn from the past, and it helped us to be conscious that whatever we're doing right now, people in the future will look back at that and they can either look back in admiration or with horror. So that helps us to be a lot more accountable and to know that we're not only responsible for people here now, but also for the future. Yes, I will definitely recommend that. I think whatever field you're interested in, you can learn from it. And it's a lovely breathing space as well to think about something different to the usual, oh, I have to learn this for the exams. Yeah, and there are so many potentials that you could work with, and so many opportunities with the Medical History Museum that we would have loved to explore, but due to time constraints, we couldn't. And we hope that someone in the future can do that. Yeah. Amy, what do you?
Yeah, I would really recommend it as well. Since it's a new SSC, a lot of people didn't really know about it, but every time they've been walking past the library, they've saw this display case and they've really liked it, and obviously it's got our names on it, so we've had quite a few people saying, like, wondering how we got into it and how they would be interested in doing something similar. So yeah, I would definitely recommend it.
Yeah. And also, you have a lovely team that can help you work through it as well. So I think that made a huge impact for our SSC. We had constant communication and help was always at hand, and we always knew where to go to as well if we needed help with anything. So that makes a big difference in the progression of the SSC and how effective it went as well. So yeah, I would recommend the SSC.